Hello, everybody. This month, I am a brain in a box. Welcome back to From the Depths, everybody. Today, we are going to be expanding our fleet that we have been building in the last couple of videos. As you can see, on our left, we have our light cruiser. On the right, we have our destroyer. And I want another ship to put in this slot here, which is going to be a heavy cruiser. So we armed our destroyer with 127mm guns. 120mm guns. In here, we have 152mm guns. In the heavy cruiser, I want to have 203mm guns. And if possible, I would like at least 6 barrels on my 203s, not on each turret overall for the whole ship, though I may take off the aircraft catapult, which I probably could have done on this one to add a 4th turret, but I probably will on the heavy cruiser. But yeah, without any further ado, let's get into the building process, and I'm just going to do a couple of quick cuts and show you steps along the way. So, hello. Yes. So, first step, we have our general shape, like top-down shape of what we're going to be aiming for here. Now, once again, this is based off a Japanese cruiser, this time the heavy cruiser Alba, and here you can see kind of the top half, or kind of what we would aim to have above the waterline almost of the ship built. Now, this is a post-commentary at the moment, so if things seem a bit weird, that's why. Oh, look, there's the back of the ship done. Definitely think I need to work on my hull building, but I think this is a nice step forward from the light cruiser. I do prefer it, definitely. But yeah, I kind of forgot that I had music playing when I recorded all of these segments, and just my brain just did not clock that. And obviously I can't put that on YouTube. That is not copyright friendly. But yes, here is the empty carcass of a hull complete. So you can see the general shapes and lines that we're going for with this bad boy. And also you can see the torpedo bulges, which I did not put on the light cruiser. And now, wow, look at that. I haven't even finished my train of thought and the superstructure's done. Incredible. So this is the last like visual bit before I really can start working on the actual functionality of this ship. And I was really happy with this thing at this point. I mean, it's definitely not perfect, but for the, work I put into it, definitely not bad. And here's the guns! Yeah, everybody likes the guns, apart from the fact that I totally forgot to set any of the other input feeders to actually use the ammo, so there was only one set to it, which is why it didn't fire very quickly here. There you go, boom, there, it's working fine. No embarrassing mistakes made in the meantime at all. However, speaking of embarrassing mistakes, there was one. I built the tallest turret first, which was a terrible, terrible idea, because now, as you can see, these turrets rest on the bottom of the ship. And, yeah, they also clip through the deck, so it took quite a bit of modifying to actually get all 4 of these turrets on, but as you can see, they are now all on. 4 turrets, 203mm twin turrets at that, so that means we have a broadside of 8 8-inch guns, 203mm, 8 inches, that is the conversion. That is better than what the ship I base this on has in real life, the Alba. However, I chose to remove the catapult launcher, as I mentioned in the start, and here it is, fully functioning, kind of, almost. I do make quite a lot more changes to this thing from this point, but as just a ship that can move around and fire with an AI, this thing works at the moment. You can see we have a pretty wide array of anti-aircraft guns. Most of these are rigged up as close-in weapon systems, so we can shoot down missiles and cramshells, but they don't work on particularly fast cramshells, so we probably also want to invest in a laser system at some point. But, look, here's the bit that everybody enjoys. The really satisfying time-lapse of everything being put together. These are always good, aren't they? I mean, just build block by block is just a great feature to have something pretty to look at, and you can kind of get an idea of the internal compartmentalization of this thing. It's not perfect, to be honest. I will level with you. Definitely have got better ships with better internal compartmentalization, but, you know, it does the job. Putting turrets on actually means that it doesn't build it block by block. You actually have to use the repair tool. So this is me speeding up the footage four times and using the repair tool to, you know, actually have the turrets built. And there, look, it's built. Fantastic. Flawless. And here we have pretty much a visually, at least, finished product here. So, as you can see, we have 4 turrets, each packing 2 guns. These are 203mm guns or 8-inch guns. These are kind of roughly based off the guns that were on the Alba in real life, and obviously the hull is also roughly based on the Alba in real life. However, I'm sure a few of you history buffs will note there are 2 guns on the rear of the ship, whereas the Alba only had 1. I've taken the decision to replace what was there, which was an aircraft catapult, just because aircraft catapults don't really have any purpose in this game, so I've decided to just put a 4th turret there instead. It's just more useful. Now, one thing that I should probably do straight away before we do anything else with this is make sure that this heavy cruiser is capable of beating one-on-one my light cruiser that I designed in the previous From the Depths video, because I feel like that's quite a big thing it needs to be able to do. Okay, we have an Onyx Watch aligned version of my light cruiser, and then we have my heavy cruiser. These are both currently still firing APHE, and clearly I need some more recoil suppression on the heavy cruiser. Yeah, I mean, these aren't particularly advanced shells. I will probably modify them based on who we're fighting in the campaign. You know, if we're fighting the Onyx Watch, for instance, APHE definitely isn't the way to go, but if we are fighting the Deepwater Guard, then the APHE is probably not a bad shout, to be honest. Maybe flak would be a better shout. I'm not sure. One thing that I am noticing about the light cruiser is obviously it runs very low in the waterline, whereas the heavy cruiser doesn't necessarily, which I think is actually proving to be an advantage for the light cruiser, just because I don't have super cavitating rounds, so I can't hit under the waterline very well. One thing that is going to be a huge advantage of this heavy cruiser, though, is if we look in here, you can see while they've pierced the layer of armor on the outside, there's then a gap and then heavy armor. So I don't think the light cruiser is going to withstand that much firepower on its turrets. I mean, this rear turret, you can see already this cap has taken some significant damage. Yeah, it's out of action. And then 2 front guns definitely are still working. But yeah, as you can see, that's a pretty high priority for the aim point selection. So now the light cruiser only has 1 functional turret. And hopefully, fingers crossed, the heavy cruiser, yeah, all 4 guns still opening fire. So that's the armor doing its work there. Now, we probably could put an all-or-nothing scheme on the light cruiser, which I may invest in the future. So take out some of this metal armor at the bow and at the stern and replace it with lightweight metal alloy, and then we can actually put heavy armor under where the turrets are, for instance, and on the turret caps. That would make the light cruiser survive quite a lot better, but I think, I mean, I would rather quite like the AI on the heavy cruiser to be focusing on that remaining gun turret right now, as I think that I could take it out in a couple shots. Yeah, I mean, whatever it wants to aim for, I'm not going to change it, because that feels unfair on the light cruiser, as if I take control of the heavy cruiser and pick points manually. I don't know why it decided to shoot out a hole through the front of the ship, but it has. Now it's trying to shoot underwater. Here we go. There goes, okay, not the front turret, but there goes a turret. That's going to be a significant amount of damage, if nothing else. It does still have a torpedo launcher, which is going to be hard to take out given that it's underwater. We do have our own torpedoes on this heavy cruiser, and we definitely have some listing problems. Perhaps need to invest in maybe some more compartmentalization. It's not too bad. It's obviously it's listing towards the light cruiser, so the guns can still fire. But if I was in a fight with multiple ships, this could be a problem. And there we go. Yep, the light cruiser is now sinking. It put up a pretty decent fight, the light cruiser, I want to say. Definitely room for improvement on the turret protection on that thing. However, speaking of improved turret protection, this ship, which is currently listing very heavily. That's something we're going to want to improve significantly, is the protection against leaning over. So ways we can do that are further internal compartmentalization, but that's going to reduce overall lift, or just double up on the amount of propellers on the underside. And I think that may be quite a big factor in this, because you can see most of them have been taken out. Might even be worth investing in a couple on this like underside of the torpedo bulges, and then that way it's further from the center of gravity, so we'll get more like moment of inertia on the actual rotation. But it did win the battle. This is not a good state for the ship to be left in, though. I'm not particularly satisfied with this result, as I was pretty confident that this was always going to win that fight. Okay, so we've made a couple of changes here. We do have some propellers here. I've installed an AI PID system for the roll. I'm not the best with PID systems, but, fingers crossed it should be fairly stable on the roll front now. Maybe will help with the recoil. I haven't actually installed any more recoil suppression in the turrets, as already I feel like these turret caps are a little bit vulnerable. I'm definitely not against swapping some of this metal to heavy armor, but obviously that's raising our center of gravity pretty high, which is already about here, which is technically under the actual waterline, but we're running low in the water since I also added heavy armor, and I've added a keel to the underside made out of lead, which, it doesn't stick out, but it does bring down the center of gravity quite a lot. However, it also adds quite a lot of weight to the ship. So maybe there's some places where I can remove the armored decking and replace it with wood. Maybe at the front or the back, it's not so important to actually have armored decking. I've also changed some of the superstructure over to alloy. Boom! Quite a long list of changes. All very subtle, though. We're going to do one more test against our light cruiser, but we're not going to watch the whole thing, and then we'll test it against some Deepwater Guard craft, as I don't want to spoil its performance against other factions too much. And then hopefully, at some point soon, we'll actually go ahead and start a campaign now that we've got a couple of ships for it, though I may want to do a little bit of revisiting to my destroyer and light cruiser first. And that is the light cruiser without any armament. I think that's all of its weapon systems out. It's only a matter of time now before it sinks. I did remember halfway through this battle that you can set your aim point selection to aim for things above the waterline only. Or try to aim only above the waterline. But as you can see, the improvements that we've made, while we did still take significant damage to quite a lot of the underside, actually. And actually, one of our ammo racks went up because of some torpedoes hitting the bottom of the ship, which is definitely something that I would quite like to improve, as well as one of our engine rooms being pierced. The ship is functionally still absolutely fine. So we do have compartmentalized ammo racks. We have two citadels, one at the front, one at the back, and when those go up, as you can see, the turrets don't go up, and obviously with torpedoes hitting the underside of the ship, they do pose a bit of a threat to our gunnery rooms as well. So definitely some things to take note of, especially as we go into some of the later factions who will have these kind of underwater weapons that we do need to keep an eye out for. But I don't think this is a bad showing by any stretch of the imagination. The light cruiser proved it was not too bad against some of the pretty late Deepwater Guard enemies. So if this can beat that comfortably, I'm thinking that it's going to do us pretty proud. But can it beat both a Kalmar and a Jacob's Treehouse? Let's see. I don't think it's going to struggle too much. Those cram shells are something that could be cause for concern if I have some thin armor anywhere. However, I mean, they don't have much armor in return, and we have shells that work very well against wooden targets, as you can see. Yeah, okay, that is the Kalmar already gone. Let's focus now on the treehouse, please. Yep, there we go. Oh my good lord, there goes the superstructure. Oh, I would not want to be on that ship right now. Oh, goodness me. Yep, that didn't last long. Okay, maybe that was too easy. That was not even remotely dangerous, being on this heavy cruise. The Plunderer! Yes, that's a bit of a bigger ship, and we spawned it very close, which is quite favourable for those crown shells, but not too favourable. We do have some anti-munition defences in the form of these 20 mils and also this missile launcher here. However, I think, to be honest, he's just knocked out most of them, and they only really work against shells coming down from on top. That was a very big shell landing right on the deck here, but it hasn't seemed to go through. On top, it has slightly. There is space for more armor there that can be added. That is bad. Someone has cut open this turret. However, it's only damaged one side. My dividing armor here, you can see, is heavy armor between the two guns, and that has actually seemingly helped save one half of that turret at the very least. So that's a good sign. And down goes the Plunderer with a little bit more damage than I was hoping for, but nothing critical. The ship is definitely still operational, and this area here, you can see they've done a huge amount of damage to. There's nothing there. That's just empty compartments for flotation. And now a fight I am confident we're probably going to lose. The Crossbones is pretty mean. We might win if we're lucky, but I think like 50% of the time we're going to lose to this thing at minimum, because, you know, they actually have some degree of armor on their turrets. However, the aim point selection... Oh, you didn't finish it. You should have finished the turret. It was so close to being dead. That's probably taken out that second turret. Yep, that was a lot of cram shells on one turret, and you've got no barrels left now because of that. And with that, if we don't start taking out these turrets pretty quick, I'm pretty sure we're going to be out of the fight, and they are not prioritizing them too much right now. Come on, lads, finish off that turret. It's so close, and yet... Nope, it doesn't fancy it. That is going to be the front turret gone. Yeah, there's not too much you can expect of the armor on this thing to deflect all of those cram shells. Probably going to lose a rear turret in the next volley. Please start taking out turrets. It's our only chance here. We have to shoot down their munitions. Oh, they've aimed for the front again, though. That's good for us. That's actually pretty good for us. The rear is where most of our firepower is centralized at the moment. And, I mean, we've definitely damaged this turret here. Can we do any more damage to any more turrets? That would be fantastic right now. But I feel like this may be a bit of a lost cause here. We are 10-11% less in terms of overall health. And we've lost a third turret, and we only have one very inaccurate gun left at the back. There's no hope of winning this now. Yeah. Okay. Cram defenses, insufficient. I could put a laser system in, but that is very expensive. But yeah, we cannot beat a Crossbones at the moment. Perhaps it's worth looking at up-armoring the deck against things like that. We probably could get away with that with the current design with no actual changes. However, I don't think I'm going to do that just now. That's something we can do in the campaign a little bit later, but it's not been an issue against anything smaller. So I think I'll save that for later when it's more of a pressing issue. But yeah, other than that, I'm going to repair this up, and we're going to have it sail in formation with my light cruiser so we can get some fancy shots. But I think we're pretty much done with the build on this thing, and hopefully, fingers crossed, next episode will be the start of a campaign. And here we can see a pretty decent comparison of the sizes of these things. So it's not actually a complete walk in the park for the heavy cruiser. It's not that much bigger than the light cruiser, as you can see here, but in the areas where it really counts, it is quite a lot bigger. You know, guns, caliber, armor. It's definitely a more capable ship. However, as you can see, the light cruiser is 186,000, the heavy cruiser is 295,000. So we can almost afford 2 light cruisers for the cost of one of these heavy cruisers, but not quite, which I think makes this heavy cruiser cost effective in comparison, which is probably a bad thing. We do actually want these light cruisers to probably be more so or the same cost effectiveness as our heavy cruiser. So work may need to be done on the light cruiser. Also, this superstructure is hideous. I want to redo that. This is a little bit better of a superstructure. Definitely not the best work you will have ever seen, but given that I don't tend to work with too many mimics, I've used a couple here, as you can see. Yeah, I mean, I think I've done a pretty good job with this one, personally. I'm going to pat myself on the back with this one. But, yeah. So, if you enjoyed this and you want to see this taken into a campaign, please leave a like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video. And tell me what you would like to see built next. The logical step up from a heavy cruiser is probably a battleship, which is going to be quite a big investment of time. I'd probably lean towards the Congo class kind of style. I like those kind of interwar period battleships. I know the obvious one to go for would be the Yamato, but honestly, I'm not such a big Yamato guy. Not my favorite ship, so probably not going to be the one I pick. However, it definitely would be nice to have a super battleship like that at some point in the campaign, so maybe. But yeah, that is all for this episode, I think. I would like to get the campaign started, but I've got some plans for it that I want to make sure are ready by the time I start, and I'm going to make sure that those videos are as good as I can possibly make them for you guys. Anyway, if you enjoy From the Depths and you want to see this more in the future, stolen that one from Lathrix, yeah, let me know, and I will gladly upload another video in 3 months. Anyway, for now, I will see you in the future. Goodbye. And as always, a huge thank you to this channel's patrons: Nicholas K, Just a Casual T62M1, Gunmaster 929, Zeit Wolverine, Rivera, Tree Loving Mango, Camjam 135, Sad Cat, DJ Pete, Yoki 003, Caligo Drakes, and Rule Stolzbocken. Thank you so much.